All right. Good morning once again. You're welcome to Digital Zero. Okay. I will start by asking if we have done the assignment. I know I asked us to perform a task on what we did last time. Has anybody done it? Please, I need quick response so that we can move ahead.
Yes, I did, but my laptop is not on. I wanted to share that day, but I couldn't.
Okay, so what about Mrs. Oikosi?
No, sir.
Let's try to be practicing, please. Let us try to be practicing. It's very important. You guys have gotten the video. All right, so I told us last time that we are gradually getting to the application of the language JavaScript. All that we are learning since, they are to prepare us to the application of JavaScript as the front-end programming language, which we use to add interactivity and to make or to create dynamic apps. That is the whole essence of this language. So far, so good. We have already settled the basic aspects, and in this section, we'll be going into a little bit advanced aspect of it, which will also expose us to a different function. And thereafter, we look at how we can use that function that we are going to learn to create an e-commerce application that can help someone to buy a product via our website. So we ended the last section with JavaScript function. And we define function as one of the extraction of JavaScript objects, which is used to group scripts or code that can be executed repeatedly, that is, that can be reused within your program. So in this session, we shall be focusing on one of the most used functions. When I say the most used function, is one function that, particularly if you are going to build an e-commerce website, you cannot do without. It is a very powerful and useful function, JavaScript. So that is the function we are looking at today. So let me use comments. So I want us to pay good attention. Like I said, we are entering the advanced aspect, so we need to pay good attention. Most of the things we have been learning, we will see their application. So our today's session is focusing on what we call JavaScript events, JavaScript events. JavaScript add event listener function. JavaScript add event listener function. So we will start with the definition. What is JavaScript event listener? Now we should first of all know that this is one of the JavaScript word function. So which means that the foundation of the function we have covered will help us here to understand the code structure, even though we are going to go beyond that. Even though we are going to go beyond that, but at least we all know how a function is defined within JavaScript. So how do we define this function? The addEventListener method or function is used to attach. Let me see if I can write it here. It's used the add. So you have to be mindful of the case. All the letters in capital letter, small letter matters. addEventListener function, I said, is a method. So the word method can also mean what? Function. It's a method use. Let me break it here so I can see. To attach. Used to attach an event. Used to attach an event handler. An event handler to an HTML element. An HTML element. Now, what we are saying here is that, so we can say, let me just end it so that without overwriting, existing, without overwriting existing events. So let's quickly break it down. So the word event here means action. Means action. So if you go through the definition, and it says the addEventListener is a method or function used to attach, that is, you adding an action to any or one of your HTML elements. So we need to start by understanding that the word event here, whenever it is used, is referring to an action that can be attached to an element. So anytime I use the word element, we are talking about what? HTML contents. So the element can be p tag, the element can be an image, the element can be your heading content. So long you are able to attach an action to it, that is what addEventListener helps us to do. We look at the word, if we are to break it, addEventListener. Now we know that event is like the action. All right, so what will trigger an action? The action itself is the function. And then you are attaching the function to an element. And the action will be triggered by the events, right? So we need to understand it. So let's assume we have this event in different form. We have clickable events. We have pressable events. We have window loading events, that is document. So for example, we can program an event on an HTML element that whenever the user click on a particular content, that content should say something. So you can have an image in your website, and then you attach the price as an event to it, or you attach the name as an event to it, and then you find a way somehow to inform the users that if they want to see the price, they should click on any of the images. So as soon as a user touches any of those product images, then JavaScript will output. The details are maybe price, this, name, this, branch, this. That is an event. So just to practicalize it, just to make it read to you, it's just like what happened in Nigeria. Let me use Nigeria because I believe that is where what I want to explain happens most. For example, you carry your child to school, and the child will now program an event on you. An event the child will program on you could be that you are to come and pick him or her from school. But how will you know when to go to the school to pick that child? So the child will say, okay, I want to program an event on you. And the event is that once you see my flashing, you start coming. So which means that you'll be waiting. You'll be waiting for the child what? Flashing before you leave your house and then go to the school and pick that child. So that is exactly what we are saying. So in this case, you become the HTML element. The child now is the addEventListener that is adding an event that you will listen to, which is that flashing. I hope somebody understands it with that illustration. Let me get a response.
No, sir.
Okay, so that is what we are talking about. So which means that it involves HTML elements. So you cannot program the event on itself. You need to work with HTML elements. So you need to determine which of the elements do you want to program the event listener on. And like I said, we have events that cut across mouse, keyboard, and window load. We can program an event that once somebody get to the website, once somebody get to the website page, once the page finish loading, then there should be maybe a welcome statement. But that welcome statement can only come up when the page has finished what? Loading. So if the page is still loading, then the user will not see that welcome what? Statement. So that is...
Is it like an alert or a prompt?
Yes, it is a prompt, but it's not... Yeah, we can say that in that case of that Windows phone, it can be like an alert. Or I can as well say that, okay, when the page finish loading, then maybe an action should be triggered. So that is exactly what we are talking about. Right, so now let's quickly look at the simple example that will make us to understand what I've been saying since. So remember that we are using, this was the last file I created. This is my external JavaScript, while this is my HTML file. So the first thing I'm going to do is to write that particular HTML element. Remember, the definition says to attach an event or action to HTML element or to an element. So which means that you have to first of all tell us or define the element. And that element should be created in your HTML file. So that is why I have to come back here. And then let's say the element is button. So I want a situation whereby when they click on a particular button, JavaScript should output that somebody touched me, or just to say something, just for us to understand it from the very basics aspects before we go to how we can put this concept together to build a real e-commerce web, e-commerce application. Now, let's say the HTML content is button, like I said, button. And then, of course, all this while we have been learning, ways of selecting. We have been learning ways of selecting HTML elements right from JavaScript, though is a topic that we are going to look at, which is called JavaScript DOM, Document Object Modeling. Now, it is nothing but part of what we have been doing. How do you select? How do you reference HTML element? How do you grab HTML elements while you are in JavaScript? That is what we mean by what JavaScript DOM. And all this while we have been using ID. We have been using ID, all right? And that ID has been enabling us to use a particular method, which is document.get. So I'm still going to use it here, because you must grab the element in HTML and give it to the addEventListener to attach that word event on. And that is why we are creating it, and we are using ID as a way of selecting it when we get to the JavaScript. So let's say, for example, I'm giving it ID, my button, or I can just say, okay, my button, that is BTN. I want to use a camel case. Now, and I want them to see something. What do I want them to see? When they click, in other words, they should see a content that will tell them what to do. And that content is click me to see. Let's say this is a product now. Let's say this is a product. So I can say click me to see my price. Click me to see my price. So this is the HTML element. Now, what we are saying is that they will click here, all right? But we need an element to render the output, what we are going to program. What will the addEventListener say? So we need additional elements outside this button that we capture that information and display it. So I will just use a p tag, and this one will have no content because we just want to use it to render JavaScript information. So I will also give it ID, and then I could just say the ID is demo, that is 2.0, I think, because we have some already. So let me remove this so that it don't confuse us. So let me use this since I have cleared the other one. So my ID is demo. Now you will notice that I did not give any content to this. Why? Because I just want to use it to render content that will be sent from JavaScript. All right. So when somebody click here, the event will be rendered with this element. That is the idea. So there must be a different button that they are clicking. There must be a different container that will be rendering, that will be outputting what you want them to see as a result of clicking, which is mouse events. So now I will now go to JavaScript, and remember that you must have connected your JavaScript where you are using external method, just like I'm doing. So going to my JavaScript, I am going to write the function addEventListener. But before that, I have to grab the first JavaScript code I am going to write is the code that will travel to this HTML and grab what? This and this. In other words, I must acknowledge them in my JavaScript, which is where the DOM concept comes in. How are we going to communicate to what we have in the HTML? How are we going to select the element in HTML that we want to do something for us while in JavaScript? So I'm going to start by saying document document dots get elements by ID, because we actually what ID, we ID this element as what my button. So let me copy it to avoid typographical error. So ID, of course, and then is a string, and then capture it like this. All right, so that is the first part. So after this, you will now do dots. Remember that this function is used to add, to attach an event. So that dot means concatenation. It means that, okay, this one, what this will do on its own is to travel to the HTML file and grab the whole of this information and then store it, right? Grab it, and then you are now adding it to the event. So the event now will now bring the formula here, which is what add event. So I will say add event listener. So this is the function, and it is case sensitive. The E should be capital letter. The L should also be capital letter. So after this, the next thing I'm going to do is to open the bracket. All right. Now, after you opening the brackets, the next thing you are going to do is to define the event. I just spoke to us about different categories of events. We have events that are associated with mouse, that is event that you can only trigger their action by the mouse action, click, mouse over. All right, so you define the events. In this case, we are using events. So I will call click. I'm using click event. I'm using click event. After click event, you put a comma. All right, so click is the first parameter of the add event listener. So which means that you are attaching the whole of this to this HTML element, which is the button that we have already grabbed. Sorry. I hope we are following. Let me get a response.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now the next thing is that the function, when somebody click, what will happen? Because that click is just like the event. Oh, the event is that if somebody touch that button, what will now happen? What will now happen will not be, a capture in your function. So how do you create the function? So I'll create an anonymous function. That is what? A function that does not have a name. We refer to that as what? Anonymous what? Function. So I will just come here and say function. Remember our function declaration syntax, which is what? The keyword, right? And then a function has this. And then before the coiling bracket, remember just that we are nesting a function inside the add event listener. And with our previous knowledge on function, it should be easy for us to understand. Let me take this off so that we can see it all. All right. So this is a function, and we know the function declaration syntax. The keyword, the only thing that we did not observe here is the name, which we are assuming to be anonymous what? Function. So now we come here, and then from here, inside this function, what exactly the action will be. So I can just say the action should be, remember, the action should be that it should grab, the action should be that it should grab this element. It should grab this element and pass a content to it. So how do I communicate that? Inside this function, I will say a document, I will say document dot get element by ID. What is the ID of that element that is grabbing, and use it to display what you want them to see. So is what? Demo. So get element by ID with demo. All right. Now attach. So once you grab this, look at this. What we are doing here is that this is what they are going to click on. When they click on it, they are expected to see something. For example, now the price is 1 million naira. We want them to see that because you have already instructed them that click me to see my price. So this is just like that product in your page. And because you want to make the website look more user-friendly, you don't want to probably compound it with too many information. So you are now, creating event on them that if they want to see some details about that product, they should just click. All right. So what you will have done, I will tell them what to do because there must be a way of you telling them what to do. Because them seeing the image alone without you writing somewhere that they are to click, without you passing a message that they are to all like alerts, that as soon as they are getting to the page, message will come up that says, please click any of the products to see their detail. Then people will just be looking at it. Because this is just like you are going advanced. You are not considering people who are not too exposed to the world of computer. All right. So now what we are trying to do here now is that we are writing a command, a function from JavaScript that will come and identify this object with the ID given to it, and then grab it, then attach and save it in a variable. And that will now take us to the inner HTML. Remember, I taught us that this inner HTML is HTML property in JavaScript, which JavaScript uses in storing HTML. That is, what we have done now is that you have sent a message to the HTML that go there. There is a file, there is a tag, grab that, there is a tag with this ID, grab it and store it here. Then once you store it here, now remember that here it has nothing. There is no content. Nothing was written here. So which means that grab it as an empty container. Then I want to store it in inner. I want to put something inside. And what am I putting inside? That is what I want them to see when they click here, which is what I can say the price. The price is, I can say the price is, let's say the price is 5,000 naira. Right? Then I will now end my code. So I hope you understand it. Let me get a response. Is it clear to us? Then you have to also end your code here. Is it clear? So that we can look at it. Let's see the outcome. Let's go and check the action. Let me get a response. Is it clear? Because after this now, I'll give us... Sorry, I didn't get you right.
A little bit.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, we are still going to do, and I hope you were following. So let's quickly go to the front end. I thought I've opened this before. Let's go to the front end. Now I have this button here. This is what we program. Now, if I click here now, I am expected to see what the price is. But why is it not outputting? Let me check again. Let's debug. Let's check whether we use the right ID. Demo, my button. Let me output the file. Let me output again. So I'll be sure that. Okay, so we have to debug it out. Let's see if something is. So just to be sure, let me comment all that things out. I just want to be sure that the fault is not from the program before we debug it. Okay, so let's go through the code again and see if there's a place where. So document.getElement by ID, add document.getElement by ID dot add event listener. Okay, function. Okay, function document.getElement demo inner our code seems correct, but I'm just wondering why it's not output. My Purity, are you joining with your laptop? Let me confirm something. Sometimes it could be a browser, so you need to.
Yes, sir.
Please, can you write this code? Let's see what you're going to get there. Let's use your own to verify.
Okay.
I want to check whether the problem is from the external
I
file.
see the same code. Just I read everything.
So let me even let me take it from here. So just to confirm what you are saying now. So let me take it from here. Let me copy it from here. Control C. And comment this. I know the code is very correct. Just wondering. So let me just put it in scripts. So let me check. So you can see it now. So that is JavaScript for you. So the problem is the file connection. You can see that it's working perfectly, but I know the code is very correct. So, but let's still do, anyway, you can still try it, because if you have issue like this, and if you have issue like this and you are mandated to continue with external, what I would advise is for you to connect again. Maybe you will just create another, let's just try that and see. So let's say I have a add.js, then all I will do is just to connect it. So let me remove this one that's not working. So I will connect back to connecting to the one I just created now, which is this. Then I want to relocate the code back to the external just to see, just to try this out. So let me take it off from here. Then come here and paste. So let's go and render and see if we'll be able to get a result now. Which one am I using? So you can see that it's working perfectly. So the problem was from that particular file. So when you run into challenges like this, you can just quickly create another file. So I hope that is clear. So there's something that I actually changed while I was trying to debug to see where the error was actually coming from. If you notice very well, this particular place, I changed it from what was there. So what do you have in your own there? This is Oyikosi. In the place of that text, what do you have there?
Okay. I just demo. I have not guessed into that.
Yes,
area.
that was the place where we put inner. You remember? That's where we put inner.
Okay, you commented everything out.
No, let me bring it here. This is where I'm talking about. This is where the other time, the first time I put inner HTML instead of text. So it was when I was debugging. So let me try it with this so that it look exactly the way the initial code was and see if we will still get the output. So I was just using that to, let me output again. So still working perfectly. So absolutely the problem was from that file. The problem wasn't from our code. I think we've confirmed both because I only use that inner that test because it's an option you can also use. All right, so Flourish, are you okay with it now? I know the other time you said that a bit. Let's see if it's clear. At least with this debugging, that should be clearer to you now, so that we can move to the next topic. Is Flourish still here? Are you sure she's still here?
Let me call her.
Just want to be sure that she's clear so that we can move on.
I'm calling her.
Okay. Since we now understand the concept of the add event listener, remember that what we have achieved is that we created this element button and we instructed our users, our website visitors to click. Then they will get a content that will be rendered with this, which we program from a JavaScript. That whenever the user click on that button, they should get this information. So which means that at this point you program an event. At the events, when the event occur, this is what they get. So it looked very simple concept, but there are a lot of things you can actually achieve in your website with this concept, like the one I cited. You can have your product, your product pictures display in your website page and instruct the users to click on any of those pictures to see more details about that product. But like I was saying, there should be a way of notifying them. There should be a way of notifying them. And the way you can do that, you can use maybe a scrolling text to pass that message. So that as soon as they get to the page, they see the scrolling text telling them click on any of the picture or any of the product image to see more details. So how do we create that? It's part of tags that we have learned at the beginning. So I will just say marquee, if you can still remember this tag, marquee, and then I want them to see click any of the picture or images to see details. And then I will specify the direction of this scrolling text. So I will say, okay, you should scroll from the left. So I'll put left here. Remember that we've learned all this before. Put left here. So if I go back to the page now, where am I putting? Okay, here. If I go back to the page now, you see that you refresh. We are supposed to see the marquee did not show. Where is it? Marquee. Did I deleted something? Marquee. Direction left, click. Let me just refresh. Just wondering what. What is now wrong with my marquee again? That deletes anything. Direction, click any of this. So the marquee is supposed to be scrolling. It's not, it's just HTML element that's supposed to be scrolling. So you can try it over there. I don't know why it's not working with mine. I hope. On Purity, you can check your own over there. I don't think.
Okay, sir.
It's just an HTML element. It's supposed to work. It has to do with JavaScript. So, so what we intend to achieve with that is that to scroll. A text that will be scrolling, that will give them that notification that they are to click to see the details of the products. So let me see if marquee concepts, the structure is very correct. So just confirm it from your end there, at least that's just to give them information about, so I can move to the next one. So now the next thing we want to look at is how do we program multiple events on HTML content? How do we program multiple events on HTML content? How do we program multiple events? So comment how to program multiple events on HTML content. So this will further explain it because we are still going to use that same concept. So let's say we are working with that same element, the BTN. We are still working with this same element, the BTN. This very one, let's say we are still working with it. So right here, but here we are using a variable concept. We are going to capture it and store it in a variable. So which is a method you can as well use. So I can come here and say, let's remember this keyword, let's btn equals to documents dot get element by ID. So let's say the ID is the same ID, which is my btn, my btn, the way it is there. Then at this point, you are ending it here. This is actually the concept I want us to know. At this point, you are ending it here, which simply means that you are not concatenating the add event listener to the element direct. You are first of all capturing the element, and then you are storing it in what? A variable before you attach the add event listener. That is another way of simplifying it, because the one we did the other time, like here, we just call the element directly and just attach what? The add event listener. But this one is more professional, where you just focus on getting the element first, keep it in a variable, then you will now reference that variable to attach the event listener, which means that I will just say btn dot add event listener. I hope somebody understands this. I prefer this method. So where I capture the element first, keep it in a variable, and then I will now reference the variable. Now, I will now say, remember the syntax, the first event I am programming is another one, which is mouse over. The other one was clicking, but this one is when they hover on it. When they hover on it, that is when somebody just come like this, the event will occur, not until he or she click. So it's another mouse event type. So mouse over. Mouse over. Now we put our comma, and then the function will be function hold on, the system is hanging. Just hold on, the system is hanging. Okay, so function, open the function bracket, and then after this, I have to open the parenthesis bracket because it's a function, and then expand it down. Quickly add your semicolon. Now, what will happen? This one we want to use we can decide to use console.log, but let's still use console.log first. Console.log, because we just want to check console.log. So what are we outputting? Console.log. We want to put a statement, and the statement is hover. Let's say what? Mouse over. So I just want something like this. So this is the first one, for example. Let me also end this one here. So if we go to the website now to check if we are correct. So let's, since it's the same button, I think I need to, let me comment this one out first. Let me just take this one so that we can focus on the one we just programmed now. So if I right click and I select, let's see how it comes out. So this is it. But this is my system, I don't even know how to go and write inside it. So what we have programmed is that once we click here, so you can check your own over there. Let me also confirm from your end. Once you hover like this, not until you click, we're supposed to have seen what we want to see. So check it over there and let me know, Mrs. Oyikosi.
Okay, sir. When I add the add.js function, so I put the JavaScript, my own did not work. So I have to come back to that the same both
that
HTML
inside.
side.
In fact,
when I create another file, it's not working for me.
So let me also take mine from here. In fact, that means I will just be writing everything there to avoid breaking the class. Now let me go back there and add it here. No, okay, inside the HTML rather. Open your scripts. Okay, so let me relaunch it again. Sorry. Mine is not stable working like this. Can you share your screen? Let me see your own. Like what? I enable you to share. Share your screen. Let me see. Just click on that. Okay, I think hold on. Sorry. I think I know where the error is. Remember that I'm using console.log. I've forgotten that I'm using console.log. I have to view it in the developer section. Sorry. I'm using, was it console.log you use? Okay, mouse over. So which means that it's work was. Let me just what I will do now so that we can see it very well before I conclude. Before I conclude, let me use the other method to display it, which is let me use document dot write. Which one did you use? Document.
I've now got into this. I'm trying to. I just the first one that I finished corrected.
Okay. So document dot. I just want to use to output it. Document dot get elements by ID. So I'm using that other rendering element by ID. I think it's demo, and then we will store it in inner HTML also, and then supply the value. The value is, let's say, I got clicked, I got overed. Okay, let's say mouse over. So at least with this, so that we'll be able to see it on the page. So let me output again. Okay, so you can see it.
Is what?
Yes, once I hover, it comes in. Okay, so have you also confirmed it from your end? I don't want to go to the external. Let me just continue with internal, since internal is working better. So what we have confirmed here is not just click. We have different mouse events. So your assignment is to go and research on other event listener. We have used click now. We have used click, and then we have also used mouse over. Then there are other ones there. There are other. We have keyboard events that we can as well use. So the next class, what we shall be looking at is how we can use this addEventListener concept to build a application in our website that can be used for e-commerce purpose. So then we are going to work with a real web page where we must have created all our product images, and then we will now use the same addEventListener to attach prices, maybe names and other things to that picture. So I just wanted us to understand the function today because we are going to use it to develop that app in the next class. But the assignment I'm leaving us with now is to go and research on different mouse events. Then research on keyboard events. So we have used just two today now, click and mouse over. So there are other ones. So just research on JavaScript event listener types. Research on JavaScript event listener types. I hope that is taken.
Yes, sir.
All right. So